What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing a special video. I'm going to be introducing a new JDM vehicle that I have picked up. As you know, we have the 32 Skyline already. We have the 34, but I had to add another Skyline to the fleet. And you guys are going to hate me for calling this a Skyline. It is my G35 Sedan. And yes, it is made in Japan and it is a Skyline. It may not be labeled one here, but for all of you that know. And of course, I had to keep it real with the 6-speed. No automatic trans here. I've done a lot of work to this car, and I'm going to walk through some of the things that I did to get her ready for my ownership. But as you can see, despite all of the work that I've done, she is now sitting in what I like to call Bay 3, aka the driveway work on car spot, because Bay 1 and Bay 2 are taken up by the R32, 34. So 35's got to get worked on outside. I've done just about everything I can before tearing into major mechanical work. So that's all that's left. I've gotten her to a very good point. We're going to walk through all of the things that we've done. This is ultimately going to be my family drift taxi. It is going to serve as a side daily slash let's say casual drift car. So yeah, we're gonna walk through more of that later on, but at the end of the day, that's the car, and stay tuned. All right, so you guys already know I'm a big fan of Nissan Skylines, and I know the G35 isn't a US Skyline, but it is in Japan. I had one of these in college. It was an awesome car, but it wasn't automatic. I always wanted a 6-speed manual G35, and at this point in my life with 2 kids, a sedan made more sense. However, manual sedans are super rare and hard to find, and when you find them, they're usually rusted out. That's why I was looking in the South for one, and I came across the perfect gem. This one had lowish miles, good mods, and all in all, it seemed to hit everything that I was looking for. I talked the guy down to a decent price. He sent me a startup video, and everything seemed to check out. I negotiated a little bit on price with him, but afterwards I decided to do what I usually do, which is cash in my frequent flyer miles for a one-way ticket down to Louisiana. Now, I've done this before and I've explained it many times. There's a lot of risk involved with doing this fly and drive kind of deal. Once you get there, you're basically pot committed. It's going to be very hard for you to find a way to negotiate because typically the seller knows that you are locked in and you're pot committed to buy the car. And I don't know what it is about my luck lately. Maybe it's all run out, but this time again, the car left a lot more to be desired. The paint was super faded on the hood. The bumpers were really trashed. There was basically a spray paint job on this front bumper corner. There was just a lot of unforeseen damage and issues with the car. But, what can I do? I was already there. I tried to talk the guy down a little bit. He wasn't having it. He had his wife and his young kid in the car, and I felt for him. So, at the end of the day, I was in a pickle. I had no choice. Took the car as is based on the negotiation that we agreed on and paid the man, started to drive home. Now, when you're driving home, it's a great time to get to know the car. You can find all of the little issues with it and decide what you need to replace. I took inventory and cataloged all the little things, the wear and tear on the car that was going to bother me, anything mechanical that was causing me an issue, and basically came up with a list, not only in my head, but I wrote it down, kind of listing out exactly what I was going to replace once I got back home. Now, the car did get me home safe and sound. Granted, on the 1,200-mile trip, I would have loved to have had cruise control. I messaged the seller after I got in the car and I asked him, does the cruise control work? And he said, I thought it did, but it didn't. So, besides that, it was a smooth ride. And once I got her home, I immediately started deciding how to fix it. Man, I can't lie. I love the stance of this G35. I think if I were to try to build my own, I'd throw these exact set of wheels on it. I'd drop it to that exact same level. I'd want it to be silver. I like the blacked out grille. I like the black headlights. I just need to fix the paint here. And then the girl would be perfect. Because otherwise, it's not a bad car. I love the proportions, man. I love how the front bumper overhang is so short and the rear trunk lid is also short. Proportion of this car give me just straight JDM VIP vibes. Love this car, and I didn't think I was gonna love it so much, but it's really growing on me. All right, so I don't believe this car had a lift or tick issue when I first picked it up, because I'm pretty sure I would have made a fuss about it to the seller. But it did develop a lift or tick under my ownership, because I've probably put a couple thousand miles on it already. Now, I already did a fresh oil change on it, and I still got the lift or tick. So now I'm gonna use this funnel. Well, first let me show you what the tick sounds like. You'll probably hear it right away. Okay, I'm pretty sure it's getting picked up now. God, it's so faint. I don't even know if I want to mess with it. All right. Let me at least try to do some seafoam. Too much too soon. All right, now if you're not familiar with a seafoam, this is an awesome tool to help you clean out your motor in areas where you get a lot of carbon buildup. You basically want the motor to pull this solution in through the intake. I often use the vacuum line connected to the brake booster. Now this is going to give you a nice, clean, direct injection to your cylinder heads and intake portions where you do get often a lot of carbon. So in order to do that, you have to trickle this solution into the engine very slowly. Too much is actually going to hydrolock your motor and cause you a lot of issues, but too little is also going to take forever. So essentially you got to find a nice little balance to where the motor doesn't stall out. You're not putting the motor in danger by introducing too much fluid to the engine and letting it kind of burn through it. Now, once you get around, let's say, a few ounces into your engine, you can shut it off and just let the motor sit for about 10 minutes. Let that solution work into all of the carbon, so that way when you turn the motor on, you take it for a spirited drive, you get on it, you're gonna see a ton of smoke coming out the tailpipe, but that's all really good because it's blowing out a lot of your carbon, it's burning all of it up. This solution will loosen up all that gunk and help you to clean out that motor. We'll let that just kind of hang out there for a minute. Let everything absorb real nicely. And while we're in here, we might as well throw some of this stuff in the oil, just in case it helps us out. It's a freaking oil cap. It's got this HCAS job on it. I don't know if it's a real one or not. I don't know, I don't know if you guys can see that. One of y'all can tell me if that's real or if that's just real Chinese. But it says made in Japan. Can't imagine the Chinese would ever say made in Japan if it wasn't. That's definitely a joke. Let's pour a little bit of this. Real scientific measurement there, making sure we got enough. And then let's give the engine a try here, and let's listen for the tick. Okay, definitely still ticking. And as you can see here, I'm grabbing my handy dandy stethoscope and I'm going to be poking around where the noise is at, trying to identify exactly which cylinder it's coming from. And then once I can identify the cylinder, I'll also put the stethoscope on each of the valves to identify if it's an intake valve or exhaust valve. From there, I got a better idea of what the clearance should be, and ultimately I need to open up the engine covers to get to the valves and measure the clearance. Okay, now something else that kills me about this car is this piece right here. Now this bezel actually did come with the car. However, it had a crack on it, so I started off with getting a decal, putting the decal on, but that ultimately lifted too. So when I tried to remove the decal, that panel exploded into a ton of pieces here. So, long story short, I had to buy another one. Now, you wouldn't know it just by looking at this piece of crap bezel piece, but it's actually really expensive. In fact, I imagine this is a common G35 issue, which is why this puppy was one of the cheaper ones off eBay. Apparently, it's not perfect, but it should be good enough for me, and it wasn't $200 like the rest of them were. This puppy was like $150, so while I really didn't want to spend that kind of money, at least we have one. Let's hope this sucker fits. Okay. There's a little electrical. Oh, hold on. Yeah, a little bit of the old plastic still remaining in here. Get that out. Should be a harness. Yep, because this has got to plug into my piece. Let's get a freaking tripod here. Let's try this again. Out with this harness. Oh, that looks so much better. In with this piece. Red light's working. Okay. Cross your fingers. I'm pretty sure this is gonna work. Perfect. Make sure everything is going. Oh my gosh, so much better. So much better. Night and day. Okay, I also didn't get to mention yet, but when I bought the vehicle, I went on the test drive and there was definitely a loud whirring noise coming from the rear. The owner at the time told me that it was just the tires. And even though the tires were newer, they had plenty of tread. He said they were a loud set of tires and that it was not any other issue besides that. I didn't quite trust him, I'll be honest. It didn't sound like a tire noise, but it also didn't sound like a typical wheel bearing noise. So I kind of just went along with it. Ultimately, I did find once I got it home and I jacked up the car, I felt both sides and it was definitely a wheel bearing. So I immediately ordered up a couple of bearings. I didn't even record any of it because I was just so frustrated. I wanted to get that done. I felt like I got taken by him telling me it was the tires making noise. So I knocked out the wheel bearing really quick, didn't get any footage of it. But that is what caused me to realize that the CV axle boot itself on the driver's rear side was also damaged. It was also torn and ripped, which is why I knew I needed a CV axle right away and decided to replace it. First things first, let's compare the axles. And from a length standpoint, they appear to be basically the same. Looks like this one might be a hair longer, but once it compresses, I think it'll be about the same. And then obviously, this one has the torn boot, which I wasn't even going to mess around with the original axle, so it just didn't make sense to even try salvaging the axle. This new assembly was only $70, so it's not worth the trouble of trying to salvage this original 20-year-old axle. All right, let's throw her in. All right, now that the axle is properly fixed, I feel comfortable enough to take this out into the parking lot to do some hood rat stuff. Now, it was raining, so it's not as harsh on the drivetrain, but I wanted to practice a couple donuts and also do an honorary burnout for the sake of hitting 1,000 subscribers. Now, appreciate everyone following along. These are probably the worst drift you've ever seen, and that's okay. We're gonna get a lot more practice in. We're gonna get better and better. But yeah, this was the initial breaking in of the street takeover vehicle. And because she did such a great job drifting, it was only appropriate that I purchased the appropriate OEM Nissan Skyline badges for her, so I did that as well. All right, so definitely did suck driving this car 1,200 miles home without any cruise control. Keeping your foot on the gas the whole time for that long is kind of a pain in the butt. So now let's take a look at this. I can see on my clutch pedal here, I am missing a little stopper right here. Right there, if you can see that, there should be a stopper. So that plunger, when the pedal comes all the way up, it should push that button in, but it's not. So let's stick a bolt in there, see if we can do any better. Okay, here's a test run, and we'll set it. And I've never seen that little set light come on before, so that tells us that the cruise is now fixed. Let's see how she accelerates. Oh yeah. Oh, it's so nice to have cruise back. And oh, that was killing me. Not to say that I need cruise, but at least on long drives like it was driving, it would have been nice to have. But thank God that's back. Okay, one more thing off the list. All right, continuing with my list, I updated the air filter for the cabin. I also fixed the Apple CarPlay for the stereo. All right, we got the CarPlay working. Ended up just being that the USB cable I was using was not good for data, but now this one works. And because the car continued to cooperate with me, we decided to do a couple more celebratory donuts. All right, the more things I start to fix on this car, the more I fall in love. I'm not much of a big audio system guy, but I found these two wires dangling in the trunk and decided to put them to good use. I went on Marketplace, found a cheap amp speaker setup. Basically, it was a 10-inch all-in-one hideaway kicker subwoofer amp combo. And I must say, despite not being into audio systems, I am a big music fan, so having a little extra bass goes a long way, and I can definitely tell I do like this modification. All right, now going back through my to-do list is a little bit depressing. I've had to do so much to bring this car up to speed. I didn't even mention that the wheel bearings were howling the entire ride home, so as soon as I got back, I did have to install 2 rear wheel bearings as well. And now all that's left to make this car my perfect family drift taxi is to work on the mechanical stuff. I can't keep driving it in good conscience knowing that the valve lash is out of spec the way it is, so it's time to hang the car up for now, put it up, and wait until I can give it the attention that it deserves. Okay, and that's going to be a wrap for this video. The G35 still has a long way to go. Unfortunately, that tick from the valve train is just not going to leave my OCD alone. I'm going to need to tear in and replace that valve, even though it's just one of the buckets that are a little bit worn out probably, and it's something that most people would probably just stick some thicker oil in and send it. It's just gonna bother me. It's a cheap fix, it's more labor intensive. That's kind of my specialty because I don't like spending a whole lot of money to fix cars, but I don't mind wrenching on them to get it done. So that's gonna be the next step, replacing the valve in the G35, and then I gotta fix this car. So I got a couple goodies in store for it. We're gonna finally do some modifications. Stay tuned for that video, but we're also gonna fix the 4-wheel drive because it recently threw a 4-wheel drive light and I'm gonna try and fix it. So we got the 32 up in the air, we got the 34 looking pretty. Everything is going according to plan. Thanks a lot for tuning in. If you like what you saw, give me a thumbs up. And if you don't, leave me a comment. Tell me what I should change next time. All right, thanks a lot and take good care.